cop-out, and they need to understand that government has always been the main threat, specifically with surveillance now. Even Eric Schmidt is warning that it's so invasive in terms of the internet that it could undermine the entire structure of the internet and break the World Wide Web. So, you know, I'd like to see the trendies who don't really care about privacy cope without the internet. I think they would begin to really care if that was a genuine threat, which many people are now saying it could well be. Kyle in Illinois, you're on the air. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, hi. This is Carl in Illinois.
Go ahead. What's your point today?
Okay, regarding this Ebola fiasco that's happening here in our country, someone may have brought this question up before, I'm not sure, but it's on my mind. If a mosquito bites an Ebola-infected person and then goes on to sting someone else, can mosquitoes and flies carry this disease forward? That's my question. I mean, this is a major concern because this is mosquito season, and most of America does have mosquitoes and flies that bite you. They take your blood, and they can also deposit germs into a human body.
Well, we don't know, we don't know if it's vector-borne that way. Of course, there was a lot of fear about that with HIV. People were concerned that HIV could be transferred by mosquitoes because it was blood-borne. That turned out to not happen. They're saying they haven't noticed any situation where this has been transferred. But, you know, when we look at these cases, even with the Western doctors and nurses who go over there, they're telling us, I really don't know how I got it. And so that's what the concern is. Did they get it because it was airborne? Did they get it because of the aerosols? Did they get it because they touched something that someone else touched and there hadn't been enough time passed for the virus to die on the outside? Quite frankly, we really don't know. That's why I believe that we ought to exercise additional care, that those countries that are suffering from the epidemic should be sealed off. Not that we need to seal our borders as much as we need to seal that in, because they can go to intermediate countries and then come in that way. There's many ways that they can do it. And believe me, if it starts to affect 5 to 15% of the population, as the CDC is currently projecting it will in those countries, they will find a way to get out. If there's any way to get out, they're going to want to get out of that situation. Anybody would.
And of course, there were reports, and I think these were confirmed, that, you know, bats are a real delicacy over there in West Africa. People were eating these bats, catching Ebola that way if the bats were not properly cooked. So that was one way in which it was spreading. Regarding mosquitoes, I don't think that's been confirmed. Bob in Connecticut, go ahead. You're on the air, Bob.
Yeah, I want to say, hey, Paul, how you doing? And David, I just wanted to make an observation on our government's response to this Ebola. It's been totally inadequate. The CDC is complicit in it. The Ebola is airborne, and the DOD has known that since 1989. And I think this is just a war against the people of the United States. Otherwise, they would have closed down the air travel from Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Nigeria. What do you guys think about that?
Well, yeah, there was the 1989 experiment, I believe it was in Virginia. That was the case, wasn't it, where they proved that it was airborne to at least a limited extent.
They said they believed that it was, at least with aerosols. They wound up having to execute those monkeys because they couldn't stop it.
Yeah, and there was also the 2012 study in Canada. So
I look at this, Paul, and this article comes out today from Reuters. The U.S. needs to rethink Ebola infection control, says the CDC chief. They need a new strategy, he says. And I would ask, what strategy? I haven't seen or heard of any strategy. When they make mistakes, like the very first press conference that they had with the governor and the local health officials, they didn't have an explanation as to how come this lady was not treated right away, why they had not disinfected the apartment. So many things that we didn't even know at that time that they hadn't done. They didn't make any confession about what they had done and say, this is where we screwed up and this is how we're going to keep that from happening again. There is no strategy to contain this. They don't have any treatment for it. The only thing that appears to show some promise that has availability is the convalescent serum, and they're not doing anything to create a donor registry or test the blood there. They're not going to have any of these experimental vaccines for quite some time. They don't have a strategy for treatment or containment.
Brad in Louisiana, you're on the air. Go ahead, Brad.
Hi, Dave and Paul. The strategy is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And the fact of the matter that nothing has happened over the past few decades to reach this magnitude. Nothing has been done to upgrade the protocols and the various mechanisms by which things are handled. So it's become a situation of not what you know, but who you know. My real question is the response to our Governor Bobby Jindal, who is a man's man, a God-fearing man who loves his state, about banning all flights into Louisiana, was answered quickly by the government of what I consider to be not the United States, but the cooperating states, has issued some edict whereby we are to dispose of the remains of these people. What do you know about it? And why is no one talking about these guillotines any longer? Thank you for your time.
Well, of course, we had the story on Friday about the FEMA coffin liners. That was an interesting thing out of Georgia. They were storing them back a few years ago. We can get into that after the break. Taking more of your calls on the Alex Jones Show live. David Knight in studio. We're going to wrap up the news after the break. Go to a couple more of your calls. The website is Infowars.com. Final segment coming up. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Listen up, all you preppers and survival enthusiasts. Sigma 3 Survival School has a brand new survival instructor training program that will teach you everything you need to know about survival, and then license you to teach our survival programs so you can make a substantial profit from it. If you have always wanted to learn to be completely self-reliant and would like to make money at it, then check out Sigma 3 Survival School Survival Instructor Program at survivalschool.us or call 479-561-3886 today.
When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in. No one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. Just one of the key compounds, BioPQQ, is backed by major clinical studies. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? We now have the synergistic solution. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO, organic Super Male Vitality formula. Super Male Vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose.
I jump out of bed ready to fight these criminals every day. I look forward to waking up and taking my Super Male Vitality.
Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality and other powerful products from InfoWars Life.
Adam Miller here with Midas Resources. Today, October 8th, 2014, gold opened at $12.1880. A 1-ounce gold coin can be purchased for $12.6360, $631.80 for a half ounce, or $315.90 for a quarter ounce. That's $12.6360, $631.80, and $315.90.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? Wait a sec. Gold and silver is going up while Congress is trying to settle on the next debt increase. And there's no end to this madness. That old 401k and IRA can be converted into physical gold without tax consequences. I explained this in my book, 10 Reasons to Buy Gold. Don't let time slip away. Call for your free copy today, 800-686-2237. Get away from that Washington spin and get honest answers about gold. 800-686-2237. The book is free, 800-686-2237.
Days have indeed found us, and with all the madness going on in the world, it's important to protect your immune system, and you can do that with the great line of products at InfoWarsLife.com, one of which is X2. This is key nascent iodine. Instead of drinking excessive amounts of bad-tasting iodine, get X2. It doesn't have that garbage taste that you will find in a lot of the mainstream brands. It's time to get prepared with Survival Shield X2 from InfoWars Life. Secure yours at InfoWarsLife.com. And also, of course, iodine is very good for general health, for the general immune system, not just for protection against radiation exposure. Going to go to another one of your calls shortly, but just want to touch on this. David Knight, there's no talk of blocking the flights out of West Africa due to Ebola. Yet in 2011, and you can see this in the Forbes article, TSA threatens to cancel all flights out of Texas if groping bill passed. They basically threatened an embargo, a blockade on Texas if this bill passed, which banned TSA groping. They were quite prepared to block all flights coming in and out of Texas over TSA goons touching your junk and intercepting those deadly snow globes. Yet we have an Ebola threat imminent and nothing's being done. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the time this was happening, we subsequently learned from this lawsuit that John Corbett has going with the TSA. They published on pacer.gov an unredacted version. Later they put a redacted version up. And what they were saying is at exactly the same time, in internal documents, the TSA was saying there is no threat of terrorists against airports or airplanes, yet they were going to turn Texas into a no-fly zone because it was about controlling people. They don't want to control the disease. They want to control people. Talking about irrelevance, I mean, we got the Pentagon now unveiling a plan for dealing with climate change. I mean, they've got a climate change adaptation roadmap. I mean, whatever the problem, whether it's an Ebola outbreak in Africa or whether it's presumed climate change, they always want to use the military. It's like, you know, when the only thing you got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and they're just not effective in these other areas. But that's not a real threat anyway. There's not any global warming going on, and they haven't tied it to CO2. The CO2 levels have gone up. The temperatures have not gone up. The real hockey stick is the number of people who are getting Ebola in the African nations, and they're completely ignoring that while they're spinning around playing with climate change and making no-fly zones out of the TS to support the TSA.
Steve in Arizona, final call. You're on the air. Go ahead. Make it quick.
Hi, I'm a firefighter from Arizona, and I just want to point out something real quick that's distressing. I haven't received any training formally from my department. I don't fault them for it. I kind of fault the government for it because of the erroneous information that's being disseminated. For example, the president saying that you cannot catch Ebola riding on a bus with someone. However, noticing that the CDC classifies Ebola as a biosafety level 4 agent, which requires a fully encapsulated suit to deal with. It's very distressing.
And there are only 4 of those biosecurity facilities in the entire United States, David Knight.
And you're not alone. It's not just firefighters and first responders. 85% of nurses, this is a story up on Infowars.com right now from Kit Daniels, 85% of nurses are not trained for Ebola. 76% of nurses also say the hospital that they work at has no policy for admitting Ebola patients. And yet we're told by the politicians, don't worry, everything's under control. They haven't done a thing. It's just blustering, bluffing.
And a lot of nurses have been protesting that they've not received that training either.
That's right.
It's amazing. We'll continue to track it. A lot of breaking Ebola news going up today. Of course, we had the second patient in Dallas back on Sunday. Concerns out of Europe again that more Ebola cases could be arriving in the UK as well. We'll continue to track it on Infowars.com. Be sure to support us at InfoWarsLife.com and join us tomorrow on The Alex Jones Show Live. Stay tuned.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
When you're out on the road, the last place you want to be is on the road. But if the unfortunate happens, you'll be glad you were wearing diamond gussets.
There's a place down in Tennessee where they make blue diamond gusset jeans. They so pride in every stitch, guarantee you love the way they fit. They put a diamond gusset in the crotch where you need it most. Blue diamond gussets got it, others don't.
we turn jeans inside out. Diamond Gusset Jeans. Made in the USA with unparalleled quality. Our Defender motorcycle jeans combine gusset comfort with Kevlar protection, so you can ride all day with confidence. Order yours at gusset.com. Diamond Gusset Jeans got it. Others don't.